Good afternoon to all. I am supposed to talk about precautious steps in preventing and protecting old books collection, and maybe to point out neglected or not enough considered ways of protecting valuable books or collections. Unfortunately, there is no way to talk about hand-pressed books collection of the National and University Library without short look back in its past. Here is a schema of hand-pressed books collection and its division. It is divided as a whole on the first level into two groups, and then every group is subdivided further into its subgroups. Then follows a short overview of the most important periods or institutions to which hand-pressed books collection belonged to before its institutional founding in 1894. First, we have a Jesuits collection. Here is, I will point out, as we can see from its libraries. Then we have a second actual period, gets back into the 18th century. Then follows Royal University Library, and finally from 1960 onwards follows National and University Library. Those periods of its history are connected with book signing and collection signing as well. And I would point out that from 1894, we actually apply in such an institution modern system of books signing. First of all, I would like to point out that hand-pressed books collection protection is based on external parameters together with the protecting of the whole building itself. Such a system enables constant supervision of the whole room in which books collection is stored and kept. Besides, there are special devices which enable us constant control of humidity and temperature. So generally, the manuscripts and rare books collection is protected as a whole according to internationally accepted and applied principles and instructions. On the other side, we protect smaller sub-collections. And finally, we protect single items of the manuscripts and rare books. Still, there is, I would say, need to establish in a system of book items protecting. For instance, bibliographic fingerprints, analogous to fingerprints from police dossiers, are actually desirable way of establishing and of protecting books. Then at the moment, there are two established and known systems of determining bibliographic fingerprints, but none of them is internationally accepted. On the other page, on the other side, title pages as well as preliminaries are mostly marked in book blocks. Book cover and book spines could be marked with labels mostly. Therefore, elements such as book covers, book bindings, book spine, preliminaries are mostly used for marking book item as well as for marking someone's ownership over certain book items. So to say, they are not too much reliable in protecting book item as a whole. For instance, preliminaries could be, and mostly are, torn out. Even title page could be torn out from the quire, especially preliminary pages that contain ex-libris or notes about previous ownership. So in order to protect the whole block of hand-pressed book, we do not put labels on its covers. What remains then? Preliminaries are not too reliable. Book covers also. A label could, for instance, mark ownership over a book item. So we could also think about establishing one system of marking maybe secret pages of books inside the block. We could choose or establish a system in which only certain pages would be marked, and it would be very helpful in further identifying of an item, of a XY book item, for instance. However, firm and steady internal system of book block signing would be helpful in preventing the most valuable items from theft and illicit trafficking. Of course, paying special attention to fragile materials of which old and rare books are made of. It is desirable, of course, to avoid putting labels on book covers, because book covers can also be made from fragile materials. Nowadays, it is important to describe a certain book item itself, so to say, to create general part of the description of a book item, which is common to all XY items in XY library or collection, together with the specific part of the description. Main intention of such structured description would be to describe single item as much detailed as possible as itself, as well as a part of wider and bigger collection. Here is an example of the assigned item signature, which we apply in our collection in the National and University Library in Zagreb. And the intention of such structured mark is to mark the whole collection. For instance, the initial capital R marks the whole collection. Roman numbers from 1 to 9 mark a subgroup of the collection, which we have seen on the, I think, second or first slide of the presentation. Then follows capital letters, which also marks subgroups within the collection, and number marks bibliographic format, such as a current number, which marks the address of a book on the shelf. Those two elements are specific for, not so for the collection as well, but for the item itself. Book items can also circulate, as we can see on those diagrams. The left, the left one is with plus sign from acquiring to shelving XY item of a book, as we can see. But the right side is less desirable way of book cycling. This is process of finding missing book items, or even worse, to identify once stolen items. Finally, I would like to conclude that we are obliged to find out new ways of protecting valuable book items from theft and from degradation as well. We should protect single items as well as parts of a certain collection. And finally, latest disasters have shown us that our hand-pressed books collection in the National and University Library is very well stored and kept in a proper room, and is safe too. Luckily, regarding hand-pressed books collection, there were no harder consequences of 2 strong earthquakes in 2000. And thank you for your attention.